There can be a lot to learn when it comes to magic, and certainly it's good to learn off of people who have got a wealth of experience so that we can get the most out of our magical practice. However, there are a lot of false gurus out there, or people who are high on their own power, and if we're not careful, we can get caught up in the middle of their egos, and it may cause us to go down paths that are really not good for us. I wanted to take you through some of the warning signs of magical practitioners who may not have your best interests at heart. The first warning sign is that they exaggerate their abilities and claim to have all the answers to your problems. Now, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your achievements and sharing those with others, but it's another thing altogether to exaggerate exactly what your abilities are, maybe promising over and above what you're capable of doing, and then claiming to have all the answers to people's problems. I don't believe anyone has all the answers to people's problems. I'd like to say that we have the answers to our problems, but sometimes there may not be an answer necessarily. So I think that anyone who is claiming this and who says that they can give you the solutions to your problems, I would be very wary about entrusting yourself to them. I don't feel that it's a good idea to hand over your personal power, agency, and responsibility to somebody else. I wouldn't necessarily say run for the hills if someone is making claims like that, but just be on your guard and see how things start to play out. Don't give too much of your information to this person. Maybe take a step back and observe what's happening and see if any of these other signs crop up. So the next warning sign is that the person might be derogatory or belittle those people who question them. They create a culture of fear that their opinions or their magical practices cannot be questioned or critiqued. I don't think anyone should be above criticism or critique, and if someone is considered to be more of an adept or more superior, if you like, within the magical space, I feel that they should be totally open to people questioning them. Things evolve, and that goes the same for magical practices, which are likely to evolve and be done differently as different generations take up the practice. That doesn't mean to say that different practices are necessarily wrong. It might be that certain practices work better for certain people, but if somebody is getting offended if their practices are being questioned, I feel that that might be a sign of a bit of a fragile ego. And certainly I don't think a relationship based on fear is healthy at all. In my view, it should be one of mutual respect for the more experienced magical practitioner and someone who might be considered more of a beginner or a student. I think more experienced practitioners can also learn a lot from beginners about new ways of doing things, new ideas and perspectives. And I think the moment they close off their minds to receiving new ideas, I think their practice can become stunted. The next warning sign is that the person insists that magic can only be practiced in their way. They might have a certain way of doing things, and that if you're doing it another way, then that is wrong and you should be doing it how they're doing it. And again, this is really difficult, especially when you're at the beginning of your magical practice, because you're looking to more experienced people to give you some guidelines, to give you some blueprints. And then as you get more experienced, you can start to branch out and tailor things to how they fit with you. But if you've got somebody that will not accept magical practices any other way, that's really stifling for beginners and students, and it's not correct. Just because a more experienced magician does things a certain way, it doesn't mean to say that everyone else has to. Granted that there may be certain practices that are better to be done certain ways for whatever reason, but I think that that should be explained. It comes back to the ego. If someone feels that their practice is the best way, maybe they need to give good reasons for that before trying to impose that on other people. Another warning sign is that the person might create or encourage a dependency on them. If you have a teacher or a more experienced magical practitioner and you feel you always need to get their approval for something that you're doing, maybe that is creating an over-dependence on them. Now again, when you're a beginner and you need some guidance, I don't think that's a bad thing, but perhaps this person is saying that you have to go to them all the time to check things out with them first, or maybe they tell you that you can't speak to other magical practitioners about your practice, everything has to go through them. I would see that they're kind of almost like boxing other people out and filtering down your support system and your support network. And if they're trying to do that and sort of cut you off from other people, that would be something I would be worried about. The next warning sign is that they may give more weight to their authority above your own personal experience. And I imagine this could feel really dismissive for somebody if you have just spoken about personal experience in your magic and this person is overriding that and maybe dismissing it or minimizing it because of their authority authority, their opinion. Well, it couldn't have been XYZ result or manifestation because that's not what happens. The person is not listening to your personal experience and isn't even willing to entertain it. And I think that is a red flag, because again, if they are experienced and they are open to other ideas, they will listen to what you have to say. They won't dismiss it and make it all about them. And I think the danger is as well is that if that happens often enough, we might start to doubt our own personal experience or our intuition because they don't fit in with what this magical adept is saying. You're not developing yourself as an independent magical practitioner. It kind of puts you at risk of not being your own person. You're becoming more of a carbon copy of this more experienced practitioner. Another warning sign is that if this person is encouraging you to keep secrets, for example, if you've seen something that you're unhappy with or you don't agree with and you are encouraged to keep a secret and not tell anybody, and maybe it's brushed off as, oh, this is all part of the magical practice or this is all part of the way I teach things, that for me would be a warning sign and a red flag. This comes back to trusting your intuition, which again, it might have eroded somewhat if this person is telling you to ignore it. I'm not saying our intuition or our gut feelings are correct all the time, but I do think there is something to be said for really tuning into how we react on a physical level and questioning what that means and not dismissing it, even if someone is telling you that that's not the way you think it is. If they're encouraging you not to say anything, I would be concerned about what's going on there. Another warning sign is that the person may charge excessive fees for their teachings that are available from other places for free or for a lot cheaper. Now, I'm not saying that teachers can't charge for their services. I think, people should be able to earn money from their skills. But certainly, as we know, in all walks of life, there are people who would take advantage of beginners or people who might not be as well versed on certain things. So maybe they don't know what resources are out there that they can access for free or lower cost. And so these people take advantage of that. They charge a lot of money. Then what you get for that is not worth it. So before you do dive into a paid course or a teaching, have a look to see if there are other resources out there, either physical resources or on the internet. There's so much on the internet. See if you can speak to somebody who have done this person's teachings or courses before. See if you can get opinions on it and if people think it's worth it. But don't just dive in. Maybe give yourself time to do a bit more research to make sure it is what you really want and that you're happy to pay for what's being offered. And the next warning sign kind of links in with the one around the person belittling those who question them. And it is that the person might treat any sort of disagreement as disloyalty. And I think this one kind of plays on the beginner's or the student's mindset of wanting to be loyal to their teacher and not wanting to appear like they're questioning this person's authority. Students or beginners of magic may be keen to please the teacher. They don't want to upset them. They want to be the good student. And that's okay. That's not necessarily bad. And there are plenty of teachers who will not play on that. There are plenty of magical practitioners who will play on that, and they will use it as an opportunity to guilt trip you into being loyal, not disagree with anything they've said, not talk about the thing you saw which you didn't agree with, not talk to anyone else about that because that would be being disloyal to your teacher. So they really tap into that aspect of us as human beings, because generally we like to be liked by other people. We like to please other people. There are some that will capitalize on that aspect of human behavior and human mindset. The bottom line is that when we are looking to develop ourselves spiritually and magically, there's a lot of study, a lot of practice and self-reflection that goes with that. And if we give ourselves unquestioningly to a teacher, if we defer our authority and responsibility and accountability over to this other person, we're giving away our opportunity to grow ourselves, because instead what we're doing is growing in the way somebody else thinks we should grow. When you build your practice yourself through your own research, having your own opinions about things, my view is that you build a stronger practice and you're not reliant on other people to do it for you or to tell you what you should be doing. Let me know if you've got any other warning signs of magical teachers that you've either experienced or you've seen happen to other people. I'd be interested to hear what you've got to say. Take good care, be well, and I'll speak to you soon.